Is the Chad factor on this last day of Black History Month, but this is a video I've been wanting to do for a long time. And it's a video about what everything was going on in the civil rights movement and how guns and the Second Amendment helped. And how come there were people who agreed with the civil rights movement and disagreed with the civil rights movement. And I want to present to you a book that everybody needs to read, which is called This Nonviolent Stuff Gets You Killed by Mr. Charles E. Cobb Jr. And I'm going to post some articles to explain the part about how there were some black people and white people who disagree with the civil rights movement and wanted to separate but have everything equal. But I'm first going to explain to you how in the mainstream media, all we hear about is either Rosa Parks, Martin Luther King, or um, the mainstream of the civil rights movement. We don't talk about what's behind the scenes, what really was going on. And what really was going on was that, and this was going on before, after, during the 1900s and into the World War II, you had a lot of black people who were in the South who came after World War II who started to arm up and defend themselves against Jim Crow and against the racists of the South. And what doesn't get talked about is how guns help make the civil rights movement happen. And if you read this book that I just told you, you'll find out that Medgar Evers and his brother always carried guns on them in Mississippi. And in fact, when the trial was going on with Emmett Till, him and some of the people in the NAACP were with him, arming themselves and defending Emmett Till's mother and his family and the witnesses for the Emmett Till case. You can research Robert F. Williams, who was from Monroe, North Carolina, who was who made the Black Armed Guard within Monroe, North Carolina, and fought against the KKK there. And I believe he relocated to Cuba to escape the conventions against him because it was falsely that he kidnapped two people. And also you have C.O. Chin, who was also from Mississippi, from Canton, Mississippi, and he was part of the NAACP. And he was the one who always kept the gun on him, had a lot of farmland, owned his own nightclub. And when there was a day when he was at the judge with the sheriff, okay, he had a gun with him in the court, which you're not really supposed to do. And as a black man back then, that was a big no-no. And the judge said, "Why do you have your gun?" And I said, "As long as this mother effer has a gun, I'm going to keep my gun." Okay? And the sheriff and him looked at each other dead in the eyes, and the judge told them to both put their guns down. And sorry. And then that was it. They had to respect him, had to respect what he said, and left it at that. But the sheriff quoted this about C.O. Chen and said there were two bad sons of bitches in this county. It's me and that nigger C.O. Chen. That's his exact quote in 1963. You had black people who defended themselves against lynchings and burnings. There was a case, I believe, in Georgia where a man was about to get lynched by a white mob, but a black militiaman came in and saved him from these mob. There's different cases that talk about how guns and black people armed with weapons help make the civil rights would happen and help us get um, certain freedoms and certain rights that we have. So the premise that the civil rights movement was just about peace, peaceful protest, and and marching, it's laughable. It's comical because you cannot get anything without violence or without confrontation. I'm saying this because your mainstream media, your Young Turks, your Tom Hartmans, your Tim Wises, your MSNBCs, even though I'm beginning to think they're not right wing too much because they're kind of wish washy, but what media is, you know, or anybody else will tell you that black people never defend themselves and that black people never use weapons. And when black people do use weapons, things don't end well, which to a point is true to certain degrees that sometimes black people weapons didn't happen, but a lot of the time during the 40s, 50s, and 60s, and even the 1900s, black people with guns actually was against the white racism domination that people keep talking about. This is why I don't really know why people want to drink the cyanide laced Kool-Aid and not say we had to defend ourselves. We have used the Second Amendment. And in the same book, you can also read that W.E.B. Du Bois said that if anybody were to come to his college, the best of his students, he had a shotgun waiting for them. So this is all I'm trying to state, that if you read this book and do the research on black people and weapons during the civil rights movement, I'm going to post some articles in the selection. You'll find out that we did do it. We did have to fight. We did have to defend ourselves, and we did. And that's what made it happen, not marching, protesting, and just doing the same old thing over and over again. That's what I'm trying to push into people's heads. Because most people don't know these names. Deacons of Self Defense don't know about that. Okay, don't know in Louisiana, don't know about C.O. Chin, don't know that Medgar Evers had weapons upon weapons, and yes, he was killed and shot in his back, but at the same time, if it wasn't for him having those guns, he wouldn't have guided the witnesses of the Emmett Till case, or black people, or show that black people can defend themselves and be vigilant. But another point of the civil rights movement that doesn't get talked about is the fact that you had black and white people who disagreed with it, who disagreed with integration, who disagreed with integrating and going to the same schools. That the black people said the only thing we want is we want to have equal taxes. We want all our tax dollars to come to us and not to the white facilities. And that's just one that doesn't get talked about, that there were groups of white and black people that wanted to separate peacefully within America, but just have it separate but equal. And if you research this, Marcus Garvey and the Klan wanted to do this, except in that case they wanted to move to Africa. And then you had the more recent one, which was when Malcolm X was in the nation. It was Malcolm X, Elijah Muhammad with George Lincoln Rockwell of the Nazi Party, who wanted to have separation and wanted to basically separate themselves but have equal footing and have a self-sufficient um, nation state within the American structure. And that's just want to get talked about, because I mean, we could talk about integration. We could talk about everything with Martin Luther King, Rosa Parks, the four boys who were the three boys who were killed in Mississippi. We could talk about all that, but we don't talk about the entire um, diaspora of the movement of people who want to separate and people who want to integrate. Then we're just going to be whitewashing history, and that's that I take very much issue with that. But this is the Chad factor, and I tell you the truth about anything. But basically, what Elijah Muhammad and Lincoln wanted to do was to separate peacefully and have a nation state. And basically, and actually, he actually had there's a video of Malcolm X talking about the pact with the Klan, and basically them doing deals in which what land they can own, what land they can have, and how and what land the Nation of Islam and black people can have in order to separate peacefully. Malcolm X said this in an entire speech that I'll post in the link below. But I also post a link about at George Lincoln Rockwell, who was actually at the Nation of Islam Saviors Day meeting and was actually in meetings with Nation of Islam and actually spoke publicly to everybody in the audience. And this was a Vice article that I can show you as well. And the reason I'm saying this is because not because I'm in great support of it. I'm just saying that you have to name all the historical facts when you're talking about civil rights, black history, and whatnot. That's all I'm trying to say. That's the whole point of this video, is to show you that there are different branches. There are people who wanted to do peaceful protesting. There are people who wanted to defend themselves with guns. And there were also people who wanted to defend themselves with guns, but also wanted to separate from the white people, but peacefully, and didn't want all that other crap. They wanted to just have their own crap and have all the money go to them. So that's what it was. What doesn't get talked about because it doesn't fit a particular narrative that everybody agreed with integration and civil rights movement. Because when you talk to some older black people, a lot of them say that that didn't help out, that didn't do anything. So that's pretty much my premise on the history of the civil rights movement that's not talked about. And again, read this book, research Malcolm X and George Lincoln Rockwell and Marcus Garvey and the KKK, Elijah Muhammad and the meetings. Research the black people with guns that helped make civil rights movement happen. Please research all this and do your own research if you think I'm lying. This is the Chad Factor out. Happy Black History Month. But celebrate all history all year long, especially Black history. See you later.